Hey everybody, it's Jackie with Jackie's Recent Things, and I actually have a quick, easy project for y'all, and this would be great for those of you that do craft shows that are looking at something fairly inexpensive. So, do me a favor and keep a running total of how much each item costs, so you will see how inexpensive this really is. All right, the supplies that you are going to need for this. You are going to need 3 quilter's hoops. The one that I have here is 10 inches. You can get them bigger if you want. But I found out that the 10-inch ones are actually perfect to just have to buy 2 fat quarters. So what I have here is I bought 2 fat quarters worth of fabric, and I'll end up having half of a fat quarter left over. So with having half of a fat quarter left over, you can use make two of these for little or nothing. All right. So the next thing that you're going to need is you're going to need some kind of iron-on material. Now, because it's Christmas time, I chose glitter, and these are iron-on glitter sheets. All of this stuff, by the way, I got at Walmart. Now, honestly, I don't know, and I couldn't find the receipt to tell you how much I paid for these. But it comes in a package with the gold and the silver and the white. I'm going to use white. The other thing, and the instructions to iron on, but I'm going to show you how the instructions to iron on are on the back. And then the other thing that you're going to need is you are going to need a stencil for this project. Now, keep in mind, don't forget, when you use your stencil and you go to draw it on, make sure you do it on the back and you place your letter backwards, so when you flip it over the right way, your letter is the right way. Just like I did here, I traced the Y on the back of the material, and then that way when I flip it over, it's going to be the correct way. So I did that backwards. So this is the material that I'm going to use for mine. And what I chose to do with the repeat of this pattern is I looked at the pattern. I chose to center my letter between this stripe and this stripe. So I'm just going to kind of go like this. And it's not really that crucial. You can kind of eyeball it out. Now you notice how my letter bumps up. It's bumping up a little bit. It's kind of making it hard for me to center. So I'm just going to take my iron and just kind of warm it up a little bit. I'm not wanting it to stick. I just want to warm it up to get that bump out. So see, the bump's out and it's not sticky. So if you have that problem, just take your iron, hover over it just a little bit. So I'm going to get this centered. And I'm kind of using my plaid as my guideline. So depending on the material you get, will depend on what you do. So I'm going to take my extra piece of fabric, because that's what the instructions say to do, and I'm going to gently lay it over. Make sure everything's smooth, and then you're going to run your iron, and it's on high setting, cotton setting, and you're going to run your iron over it for about 30 to 40 seconds. Then when you get done with the front side, you're going to flip this over, and you're going to do the same thing again to the other side. Once again, 30, 40 seconds. Now, from what I understand, for those of you that have a Cricut, I understand that vinyl doesn't really stick well to fabric, so make sure whatever you get, it will adhere to fabric. So now that I've got my letter on there, I'm going to bring my quilt hoop, loosen it up. If you don't have good hand strength, you're going to want to have a pair of needle nose pliers for this part. So you're going to want to take your hoop, you're going to want to put this one on the underneath. And I'm going to kind of feel where my fabric and center it up. And then I'm going to put this upside down on purpose. You will see why as the project goes. And I'm going to look. I'm going to make sure everything's centered. I'll push my hoop down. And then I'm going to tighten it up. And then after I tighten it up, you're going to want to take and pull your fabric to really snug it in your hoop. And just be careful if you have a repeat pattern, don't pull on it too much that you warp your pattern. So just be careful of that. But see how that's got that bump down here at the bottom? So I'm going to pull it down a little bit, see if I can get that bump out. Once I get everything snug in my hoop, I'm going to flip it over, and we're just going to simply cut the excess fabric out. So I'm just going to run my scissors along the edge. As y'all will see here in a minute, you will see how perfect these are if you are in a panic and you're doing a craft show and you need something to fill up space and you're literally tired of making wreaths and you just don't have much time left. All right, so now that we have that done, I've got 3 of these and they spell out the word joy. Look how nice statement that is, y'all, already. But we are designers. We can't just let it go like that as much as we want to. So what we're going to do next is we're going to add a little bow to the bottom because we need to cover up this screw point. So what I did, because these aren't that big, is I'm going to use some 2.5 ribbon, or excuse me, 1.5 ribbon. And I'm going to grab some pipe cleaners. And I'm just going to make some small bows. And I'm just going to do these by hand. So they're not that big. My loops are about 2.5 inches, 3 inches. I'll make this one just slightly bigger. And I'm going to tie it off with a pipe cleaner. We're going to need to make 3 more like this one because we want them pretty matchy-matchy. So if you're not good at making bows by hand, get out the bow maker. Because you definitely want these to match. Now, if you wanted to, instead of bows, you could use greenery. Um, you know, whatever you can think of to cover up the workings as it was. Here we go, one last bow. And there's our bows. So the next thing you're going to want to do is we need to connect these together. So I would recommend ultimately using fishing line to connect yours together. But I didn't want to run out and buy fishing line, so I'm just going to use some wire. And I'm going to cut my wire about 10 inches. Give me a little bit to work with. And it keeps going on the floor. So now we want to connect these up. So I'm going to loosen this just a little bit, y'all. And you probably might want to put this in before tightening your hoop down when you put your fabric in. Yep, definitely do it before you put your fabric in. Alright. If I take that too much further apart, it's going to ruin it, so we're not going to do that. So for the sake of oopsie, I'm just going to poke the wire through the fabric. And then attach it to this clip. And then what I'm going to do to keep this straight, I'm going to spin these. And I'll do that again up here. Poke the wire through. And I'll hold that one, and I'll spin this together again. So now we'll add our bows. And like I said, these bows are basically to cover up the mechanics, add a little decoration. You can use greenery if you want to cover these up. But I was trying to make this as inexpensive as possible with like the materials you might have laying around your shop. Because these quilt hoops are like $3 a piece. I've got $2 in the fabric, and then I don't have much in the bows because we didn't use much ribbon. So there's probably only like $12 in this project that you can sell for a minimum at a craft show for $45. So this will help increase your project, and it's a really quick project. Now I'm just going to cut the excess wire off. So I wasn't concerned about my wire showing because I knew I was going to pull the loops down, the tails down. So that's why other reason I didn't run out and buy fishing line. One more bow. Now, there's several ways that you can hang this. Number one, actually, somebody could just use a suction cup. If you want to provide the hanger, you want the hanger to be on there. Take your ribbon, and we're going to kind of do our bow a little bit different. Just to make it stand out a little bit at the top. You could do something as simple as just putting a piece of burlap through the top, jute cording. You know, there's just all kinds of different things that you can do for a hanger. I don't want my bow to be too much bigger, but I do want it to stand out a little bit different from the other ones. And so I'm going to do one more loop, two more of the snowy ones. And I'm going to take my pipe cleaner and I'm going to stab it through the fabric. And then the remainder of my pipe cleaner that I have left down here, I'm going to twist together for it to be the hanger. Now, obviously, I don't want to cover the J up, so I'm not going to pull my tails down into the letter. I'm just going to separate everything out nicely. So overall, this project realistically takes literally about 30 minutes. So in 30 minutes, at about $12 for the overall project, and it makes a very large statement. So if you're looking for a really quick project for your craft show to fill up some booth space, this is the project, y'all. Hope you enjoyed this one. Bye, y'all.